Welcome to BRIX-N-FLIX here at the Launchpad Writers Club. We're going to be looking at Star Wars The Last Jedi again, but one specific theme, and that's the theme about killing the past. I want to look at, is there any virtue in that? Is there any virtue in letting go of everything, forgetting the past in order to, become who you must be, as Kylo Ren says. While we do that, I'm going to be building this Lego set. It's just a little one. Krennic's Imperial Shuttle Microfighter. By the way, this will be a spoilery review. If you haven't already seen Star Wars The Last Jedi, don't watch this video yet. So I've got a bit of a theory. There's a lot of talk in The Last Jedi about this spark of hope, and where this spark of hope might be. And there's also a lot of talk about letting the past die in order to let the future become what it needs to be. Kylo Ren says, let the past die. Kill it if you have to. That's the only way to become what we're meant to be. Luke Skywalker says, it's time for the Jedi to end. He's moved to this little isolated hidden island to die so that the last of the Jedi dies. He wants the Jedi to be a forgotten thing. He presumes he's the last Jedi and that when he dies, that's the end of it. So he's hiding in order for that to happen. Very traditional value that to be sentimental and to preserve the past is a virtue. It's a good thing to do. But I can really relate with Kylo Ren's want to separate himself from the past, as if it's some kind of anchor that it's keeping him from fulfilling his destiny. I think a lot of people can probably relate to that, and it's not really apparent that that's a bad thing, I don't know if that needs to mean, destroying the past, destroying all traces of it, but to separate yourself from it, I don't see why that is such an evil thing in and of itself. Where's this guy's hat? Look at this tiny little blaster. Got a hat somewhere. I think it might be in here. Ah, there it is. So Luke, the good guy of Star Wars, is kind of agreeing with Kylo Ren in that let the past die. He wants the Jedi to die. Kylo Ren wants something new to happen and to kill off the past. So there is that scene where Luke takes the torch to the tree that holds the ancient Jedi texts, the past. That's the past preserved in a book, and he's going to burn it all down. And he lifts up the torch, and then Yoda's there, his master, his past. And he stops, and he doesn't do it. But then Yoda strikes lightning down onto the tree, destroying the past in an act of tomacide. Luke's actually a little bit devastated. Maybe he wasn't going to go through with it after all. So, Star Wars does this thing where it keeps hidden who's good and who's bad. It kind of likes to give you a bit of a twist. I've got this theory that maybe the spark of hope that they're talking about and the good that's still in Kylo Ren is this thing that he's got about destroying the past, and maybe that is virtuous. So presumably it's a bad thing that Yoda's burned down this tree that contains the ancient Jedi texts. But he says, wisdom they held, but that library contained nothing that the girl Rey does not already possess. At the end of the film, it's revealed that Rey actually has the books in the Millennium Falcon, so she stole the books. So when Yoda struck the tree and it burned down, the books weren't destroyed. But it's not really clear. A lot of people have said Yoda knew she took the books. That's the meaning, and what he said wasn't meant to be taken metaphorically, like, that ancient wisdom is actually inherent within her, but was meant to be taken literally, like she stole the books. The tree didn't contain anything that she didn't already have. Now here's where I diverge from that. I kind of think they left it open. We can't be absolutely certain that Yoda knew that Rey stole the books. And now let's just consider that he didn't know that Rey stole the books. If that's the case, that Yoda didn't know that she stole the books, he's trying to say that she inherently possesses the values of the Jedi, and that's enough. And in a way, he's agreeing with the sentiment if that's the case, he's agreeing with the sentiment of Kylo Ren, is that sometimes you need to let the past die in order to invent the future. He's also agreeing with Luke that the Jedi must end, the Jedi as they were, sort of thing. The Jedi need to let go of their own past. Well, if that's the case, if that was the impression that Yoda had, that she hadn't stole the books and that it was actually important for them to burn, for her to become who she was meant to be, and for Kylo Ren to become who he's meant to be, well, then that gives a different spin on the whole ending, doesn't it? It's never a popular view to say that, let's forget the past. And I understand why, and I don't think the past should be forgotten. But maybe it shouldn't be clung to sometimes. Or maybe it should. That's actually a question that sort of, when you're looking at that, you're sort of moving into the territory of the postmodern versus traditional philosophies. You're also moving into the territory of, should we trust people, if we start from scratch? Is it inherent that people will do the correct thing and reinvent the same wisdom again? Or is that wisdom really important in order to prevent us from doing the wrong thing? I suppose it comes down to how much faith do you have in humanity to do the right thing. So I guess my point that I wanted to make with all this was merely, it is assumed that Yoda knew that Rey stole the books. But, just because he's a Force ghost doesn't mean he knows every single thing that everyone's done. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe he's got no idea. I like the discussion that arises around the question of whether he knew. Because if he didn't know, and he struck down and burned away the tree, and Yoda's pretty wise, it actually means that Luke was correct in saying the Jedi need to end. I don't think that means that, the Jedi were bad or anything like that, and that they need to end entirely. I think what it means more would be like that they need to stop clinging on to the past and evolve. Now, Rey's a bit obsessed with her past. She's trying to find out who her parents were. Kylo Ren tells her he knows who her parents were. They were nobodies. He kind of slanders them. He says they were filthy junk traders and they sold her off for drinking money. We're also not sure whether or not he's speaking the truth or he's making things up. Now, as someone who wants the past forgotten, he wants the past to be inconsequential to the future. It's in his best interest for him to make Rey think her past doesn't matter. So I really like Kylo Ren because I can actually empathise with him. Like I know the feeling of wanting to forget your own roots in order to become something else. So I guess that's really the discussion I wanted to open up. It's presumed that wanting to destroy the past is a bad thing. But Luke says it. Yoda agrees. Yoda burns the tree down. Kylo keeps saying, let the past die. And, we are hinted at over and over again that maybe there's some good in Kylo. So maybe the good that's hinted at is actually that sentiment. The fact that he wants the past to die is his redeeming quality rather than his damning one. And all of that hinges on the question of whether or not Yoda knew that Rey stole the books. If Yoda didn't know that Rey stole the books, kind of changes a lot, doesn't it? That's Krennic's Imperial Shuttle Microfighter. So, let's start discussing the movie from that point of view, because I think that they might have intended us to do so. In all the points that I just covered, everything's open-ended. So, it could be interpreted either way. And so far, that's not a discussion point that I've seen come up in any of the Star Wars The Last Jedi reviews or discussions. So what if Yoda didn't know that Rey stole the books? A lot of implications about what that could mean. I think I'll deconstruct this and give it away, and you can have the fun of building this yourself. So if you want to win this, all you have to do is like the video and leave a comment below that says something nice or something discussion about the Star Wars thing. Well, that's it. I hope this video has raised some interesting new discussion points around the film and maybe something that you hadn't already considered. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.